Steve Weissman here with Tennis Channel, and today it is my pleasure to catch up with a man who needs no introduction, the legendary Roger Federer, unveiling the newest RF collection racket, the RF01 Pro. Great to see you, Roger. Congratulations on the entire RF collection, including this new racket. Tell me, what inspired this new design?
So, I mean, of course, having the RF logo on the racket already, I think, shows you that this is very serious for me. I mean, it's a big honor for me to have an RF franchise at Wilson. You know, I've been with them for so long. Ever since I played my first tournament at 8 years old, it was a Wilson racket, and I've never played another tournament with another brand. So for me to carry on the journey together with Wilson now with my own initials and my brand is incredible. I've wanted to work on a new racket while rehabbing, you know, and for my comeback, we were looking at what else could we add to the racket, what could it be, and we were going through all the whole process, and then of course, my career ended, and then, you know, my mind had to shift as well. Okay, well, who cares about me right now? This is really purely about a racket also for, you know, future junior players, other pro players, but also recreational players. So I tried to blend all my knowledge that I had over the last 30 years into this racket. And I really also wanted to always try a lighter frame, because I've always been on the spectrum of quite a little bit of a heavier frame, which has been more difficult for people to play with. So it's been a great process, and I'm very happy with the end result, to be honest. In case you haven't seen it yet, here it is.
There we go. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Show us the RF logo there as well. Yeah.
Here it is.
Beautiful.
And it's actually on the butt cap as well.
That's pretty cool.
We left, I wanted to really keep the Wilson logo on the strings, because there was some talk about maybe putting the RF logo on the strings, but I don't know, it would have broken my heart to see Wilson go on the strings, because Wilson's been so good to me, and it's just been classic, you know, a classic look for me, the Wilson on the strings. So we landed with that, and I'm very happy with the end result.
It looks great. It's a true collaboration. You got the Wilson, you got the RF, right? So, Roger, that it's a little lighter, but also it has a bigger head size. How come? Yeah,
so I mean, the direction is going there, obviously. I mean, especially me starting from an 85, you know, when I came on tour, to then a 90, which was an evolution from the 85, and then going to the RF 97 in 2014. So now going to like a 98. I think is a good landing place, I think, for a racket head size for today's game. I mean, back in the day, you know, we used to play so much more attacking tennis. It was based on your strength, and you didn't care so much about weakness. You just said, like, I'm going forward. This is my tactics. My racket and my strings are going to do that for me as well. And now you're much more considerate about what the opposition, you know, does to you. The conditions obviously are not as fast as they used to be back in the, you know, 80s and 90s. So for me, this racket also, I wanted to make sure that when you get good spin on it, is that you really find the short angles, forehand and backhand cross courts, especially, you know, in defense on a passing shot, or if you want to, you know, open the court, is that this racket can actually do it. And I'm really happy with the outcome, because actually we landed fairly quickly on it, even though I put a lot of testing into it, because I like the new technology. I like the shape of the frame. I think it cuts nicely through the air, because that also was something I've always remembered from 85 and from my 90 rackets, you know, is that it was very fast through the air, whereas the RF 97 felt a little slower, but it gave me obviously something completely different. It gave me a bigger racket head size, a cleaner ball strike, especially on the backhand side, as we know, and just easier power. And I think this one actually will give me all of that, but better. So I think it's a great evolution of what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, it's amazing, from 85 all the way to 98. So taking this racket from your hand to somebody who is just starting tennis, how does it fit the needs of everybody?
Yeah, so I think by it being lighter, and I think the majority of the players nowadays actually play with lighter frames. I was actually shocked to hear that how many of the pro players actually play with much lighter frames than what I was playing with. I was like, what? It's that many that play with it? So I was really intrigued about that thought, and I was like, okay, I have to also try it there and just see, can I go as low as what, let's say, the average is playing with, or am I always going to be on the heavier spectrum? Because maybe it's because of being more on the continental grip size that I can get away with, heavier rackets. Maybe when you have an extreme racket, maybe it's more complicated. So that's where I think it's going to help the recreational players. Of course, we're going to have 3 different models or different weights, so also kids can join in and play with it quickly. And then as you move forward, and the better you get, the heavier your racket becomes. And it's going to be a great way for you to get into tennis, this racket, for sure as well.
Great that there are multiple options, Roger. So as a tennis player evolves themselves, goes and gets older, obviously, tennis, they say, is the sport for a lifetime and actually makes you live longer. So the older you get,
I heard that.
Right? What would you advise about rackets as players get a little bit older?
Well, I mean, number one, you got to feel excited about picking up a racket, a tennis racket, paddle, pickle, whatever it is. Wilson's so strong in all the sports. But I think what actually I would love to see is that maybe tennis players or tennis fans change rackets a little bit more frequently. They add another racket to the collection. Maybe it's the same racket but in a different color, that we can maybe add more collector's items as well, because I feel the tennis fan usually, he plays with one racket and then he buys another one maybe 5 years or 10 years later. And I feel with shoes and watches or cars or whatever it may be, whatever you're collecting, you have tendency to add more to it. But in tennis, maybe we haven't done a good enough job to actually explain as well the players that if you play too long with a racket, the flex point gets so all over the show that even if you then buy a new racket, the same one, it's going to feel completely different. It's going to feel much stiffer. And that's why I hope that through this story and my racket, that you're going to feel like, I actually should buy maybe a racket once a year, twice a year, or every other year, whatever it may be, because it is worth it, and technology adjusts, and there's so many cool frames out there and rackets that go out and actually test it, put the time into it, and have fun with it. Like in other sports, maybe you do as well.
What are the color options, and what would be your favorite color to play with?
So this one only comes in one color so far, and I really was thinking long and hard what to do. I thought about going pretty crazy because obviously I'm going through the whole kids tennis part with my children. So obviously they would want to see, I don't know, bubble gum and all the crazy colors, which is fine. And we were looking at when last year the Barbie and Ken movie came out, we're like looking at, should we add like these crazy colors? But then at the end, I still wanted to land in a place that was going to be very classic. Wilson, also from my black, elastic paint finish that we have, the old RF97, which I thought was so minimalistic and nice looking, especially next to all the other tennis rackets that are so colorful all the time. I thought it'd be very nice if we did something very classy. And here we went with the fade. I don't know if you can see it so well, but it has a really beautiful ombre fade on it that goes from like a black anthracite into a silver. And I really thought it'd be nice if the end is lighter, because then if you swing through the ball and you see it from afar, actually will leave like a glare in your head, that you can see the beauty of tennis. So because it's very important for me that tennis remains one of the great elegant sports out there, and maybe by adding that little touch in the color, a lighter bit, it's going to actually highlight the beauty of our tennis swings that we all have.
I love how much you thought about that, by the way, like every little bit of the colors. And maybe we'll get bubblegum in the future, a future edition.
Maybe we can do energy moments. We'll see. Yes, absolutely. Good idea. Or not.
Roger, you call your racket iconic. What do you think your racket would call you if it had a voice?
I don't know. I just hope it'd be happy I picked it up, to be honest. I feel like we've spent so much time together, with the racket, It's a very personal relationship, to be honest. I've always called it, the extension of your arm hand. So it's super personal, and I think every tennis player knows what I'm talking about. You take care of it, you re-grip it. When you go into a match, you want to make sure the strings are where they want them to be. Do you worry that they break? So you have this really a personal relationship with the racket. You try obviously not to break it, try not to hurt it, but sometimes you get so mad at it and you think it's the racket's mistake, but the racket knows it's you. So anyway, we've had a rocky relationship, but I think we're good friends, so it's all good.
That's awesome. We don't want to smash any of these new beautiful
definitely
frames. There's so many important things that go into making a complete player. You talk about the relationship with the racket, but you've got the shoes, you've got everything else that goes into making a tennis player.
Yep.
How important is that racket choice? Is that the most important thing a tennis player can choose?
I think it's the hardest thing to change, especially as you get older, to say like, oh, let me quickly change rackets. I mean, you can go about it that way, which is maybe one way, and just say like, I'm putting the old one away and I'm just taking a new one. Not easy to do, I think. Whereas maybe shoes and obviously shirts, it's a whole lot easier to change just because of this personal relationship. And I'll never forget when we had the Wilson negotiations way back when. Michael, who was in charge at the time, he always reminded my agent, do you trust your racket at 5-all in the fifth? Is it going to do the job for you? And you're like, well, I think it will. Well, you want to be sure, and this is that's why you choose a Wilson racket, you make sure that it is going to be there for you and so forth. So I'll never forget that. And that's where you need to have a really high trust in your racket. But I do think going into some testing, even if you're a professional player, it's great to do with, no expectations, just go out there and see what a new racket can give you. And sometimes it's also fun to do that instead of just being so stuck on one frame that you've always played with.
You've got to trust it. 5-all in the fifth.
That's it.
What's going to come through for you? Obviously, when the RF logo is on anything, it carries serious weight for tennis players, really all athletes. I mean, you see people walking down the street with RF hats. What do you think that RF logo evokes from the fans?
I think they know it's a very, it's a personal story automatically because of it. They know I've put in my touch on it. I lean strongly into it. It really means it's serious now and it's really important to me. If I put the RF logo onto something, I haven't done it very often. I've been very careful of how to use the RF logo, but clearly here with Wilson and looking at the long runway and thinking about future junior super players and so forth, I couldn't hold back. I had to have a RF Wilson tennis racket if it was possible, and Wilson was so excited about the idea as well, which I was happy to see. And I think this is where people can definitely only expect all my best efforts when it comes to racket. All my inputs I can put into it. I told Wilson I'm there for them 24/7. Whatever they need from me, I'll be there for them. And our relationship has been too good, and RF means too much to me that I wouldn't care. So this is a very personal journey for me and Wilson.
24/7, so 3 a.m. They got a racket question.
It's okay. I can handle it.
When you showed us the racket, we saw something that you had a couple of pinstripes on it.
Yes.
What's the story behind that?
So the pinstripes, you see them, I just think it's a very much a tennis heritage thing as well. Then we got the pinstripe, the double pinstripe, if you like. And that was a nod to my children because, having twins, 2 sets of twins. So we have obviously the pinstripes here, pinstripes there, pinstripes everywhere. But it's very subtle because I didn't want it just to be about family all the time, because I know a lot of people do that. But so I see very much also tennis heritage in this in the feel of how we went on to build this racket. I just thought the look was really classic, which I thought was important to me again as well. The fade has obviously been the big decision, because I know that with Wilson we were struggling to get the proper fade going at the right places, and it was coming a bit too quick at the beginning. And Wilson had put in a lot of work to make sure the fade comes gradually, which I think we landed in a really nice place now. But yes, like you said, the pinstripe is a nice touch, and I like especially also the butt cap is such a classic, right? Back in the day, MRW, I know it's a classic. Now you're going to go RF up or down. It's going to be hopefully also something quite cool for people to do.
Yeah, I love the butt cap has the RF on it. That's going to be the new generation Wilson. It's going to be up or down. No more MRW. When you talk about the kids, has it been family tested? Is this approved by everybody, or have they used it yet?
They have not played with it. Good question. No, they have. Last year, as we were going through testing out here in the Hamptons as well, we got a lot of the different color designs. So we were looking at a bunch of designs, and I really asked all the kids, so tell me your 1, 2, 3 favorites. So I did take their opinions into consideration. I don't know how much we ended up doing what they said, but I wanted them to quickly be part of the process as well, because I want the new generation, to feel like this is an exciting racket to have in their hand and to play with. And then obviously as we move forward, I mean, we've got to create cool energy moments and fun design elements. So we're definitely also looking at that moving forward.
What are the kids hitting with?
They all play. The girls play with the Clash, and the boys play with mine, the RF97. And actually, my Lenny, what does he play with? He plays with, I think, a special edition one, the brown one. Or is it? I guess it's the Blade, maybe. I actually should know. I don't know. Because he keeps on switching as well with the black one. And I think he also had a Roland Garros edition one. So he's been all over the show. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. How often are you still hitting? I mean, are you out there playing with this new racket quite frequently, or?
No, so the thing is, I've just gotten this racket in my hand again, and I was actually playing with my old RF97 for the last few months again, because we were just more preparing for the launch here now. And I don't want to be spotted with the new racket, I wanted to keep it on the wraps, and I can't have it strung anywhere, otherwise it gets out and it leaks. So I was back with my old RF97, so here I have it. So I can promise you today or tomorrow I'm going to be playing with this one again. I'm actually super excited that I finally get the chance to now officially, play with it. But I've played with it ever since I approved testing, and I was like, we have it. I haven't played much with it the last year, so this is now exciting times for me as well.
That's awesome. Can't wait to see the videos of you playing with the new stick.
That's right.
Roger, there's another name that we work with at Tennis Channel, very well-known guy. His name's Andy Roddick, joined the Wilson family.
Yeah, I heard that. That's cool.
Why do you cover your eyes?
Yeah, because Andy is a great guy. He knows it. He's the best, and I love his podcast as well. And I want him to do commentating. He's so fun to listen to. He's so knowledgeable, and always enjoyed having him around on the tour and stuff. So whenever I hear Andy Roddick, I get a smile on my face, and just it brings me back to the olden days.
Andy.
Yeah.
He said he was excited to join the Wilson team because he was always losing to Wilson players like himself.
Okay.
Do you think maybe one of those Wimbledon finals would have gone differently if he had a Wilson in his hands?
I think he probably would have beaten me in the 2003 Wimbledon semis. And then what would have happened is that I would have probably thought that I can't win Wimbledon, and then I would have never won Wimbledon. So he had a lot to do with it if he would have changed to Wilson much earlier. So I don't know.
He would have changed if he had been a Wilson player.
He could have changed all of history. Yeah. He could have broken me down early enough before I got on the run of, the 5 in a row there in 2003 when it was. Yeah. So he had the chance to stop it. Yeah.
All right, Roger. I think that means we need to set up a Legends match with you and Andy at some point. What do you think about that?
I would love to hit with Andy again. Yeah, I would love that.
You showed the butt of the racket with the RF. I know you've been to some concerts recently. We saw you at Taylor Swift. We saw you at Coldplay. if the butt of your racket was a microphone, what would be your karaoke song?
Oh, come on. I don't know what it'd be. I've been actually listening to now the Taylor Swift and the Coldplay songs more and more. What is my karaoke song? Is it maybe... I'd probably go to Queen, you know, Another One Bites the Dust. You know, my son, he loves listening to Queen or the Bee Gees and more the classic stuff, you know. So that's what I have in my head also most of the time. So I would probably go with something from Queen or I don't know, Whitney Houston or something. Yeah.
Another One Bites the Dust. We Are the Champions. I mean,
yeah, We're the Champions a little less, but somehow, because I guess in tennis or in sports we hear it all the time. So that's why, yeah.
We're going to leave with this one, Roger. If you could say something to your racket, obviously it's provided you with some greatness. What would you say to it?
I would say that I hope that one day some kid is going to pick this up and say and become world number one with it, or is going to win Wimbledon with it, or just achieve the dreams that they wanted. I don't know, make it to college or whatever it may be, you know, to be honest. So that's what I hope that this racket's going to do to players, and hopefully also people that gonna maybe have never played tennis and they say, you know, I'm gonna pick up tennis because of maybe this racket or Roger or whatever it may be. That'd be fun too. And I hope this racket's gonna be a good companion to all the people, all the tennis players out there.
I'm sure it will, Roger. I can't wait for, you know, maybe 5-10 years from now, somebody's like, yep, I picked up the RF and here I am, Wimbledon champion.
That would be awesome. And I would love to be there.
As always, it's a privilege. Thank you so much for chatting with us,
sure.
Roger. We miss you, obviously, on tour, but love seeing you at the different events. Congratulations on the launch of this beautiful new RF01 Pro.
Thank you so much. Great chatting to you, Steve. Say hi to Andy. Okay? All righty. Take care. Bye-bye.